driving rain. Put it down. Alright. Now, if I just can. Put it down. Alright. Don't that mad. I was raised by toothless bearded haze. I was food.
Today is a very special day on the Chad Smith Show on the Drum Channel. I have here with me the one, the only Mr. Charlie Watts.
The one and only.
Starting out, early on, you obviously loved jazz music, and is that what brought you to drumming? Was jazz music, or what brought you to drumming?
I suppose Jerry Mulligan and Chico Hamilton, really. But the first record that I really loved, apart from Billy Eckstine, which was my father's area, so
Right.
I heard them. But the first record that actually, it was my uncle's record. It was Earl Bostic's Flamingo. Which was R&B, I suppose you'd call that,
Okay.
It was. And I loved that, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then I heard Jerry Mulligan's Walking Shoes, and I wanted to play the drums. And then, at the same time, me and the guy who lived next door, who's a bass player, we sort of started listening to records together. We were 12, I think, at the time, 12, 13.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with the stage, really. I used to go and see bands later, you know, when I was like 15, I'd say dance bands.
Yeah.
And you'd get all the saxophones going.
Yeah.
When I was about 14, I heard Charlie Parker. And I've just loved it. I don't know why. I mean, it's not... I suppose it's like kids now, or when we were kids, maybe, hearing Jimi Hendrix, you suddenly think, what the hell is he playing? But it didn't do that
Yeah.
to you at that age. You just thought, wow, that's a great guitar. And I heard Bird, and I thought, that's fantastic. I want to be that.
I want to do that.
Yeah, I want to do that in a club in New York. And I'd never realised quite how hard it all was to do that in a club in New York for nothing.
Yeah, right. Now kids are not exposed to, certainly I think that jazz is sort of a lost for kids, you think? Or
Well, I
do they
think...
need to seek it out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be completely wrong. But the 50s and 60s and that seemed to be a great time for seeing people, and there was a big transition, you know, Louis Jordan, Louis Prima, that jump,
Yep.
R&B.
A lot of people call
Earl
it
Bostic,
the first rock and roll. Almost.
Yeah, and
Right?
then
It was
rock
Jordan.
and roll and that. So all those guys, you know, DJ Fontana, who's probably plays some of the best what's termed rock and roll, you know, Hound Dog and all those things, they're fantastic. It's like a swing drummer, actually, when you watch him with Elvis, he's playing, it doesn't, so it was all one thing. And in those days, you had to learn to play, as you well know, rumba for the dance, and then cha-cha-cha, which became famous. And you had all these things that you...
Whatever was coming up.
Yeah,
right?
But now, you know, if you need a cha-cha-cha, you can have sort of Tito Puente on a machine, you know, and you can, it's the real thing. I don't know, it's kind of different. It could be just age, you know, you look back and you see. I mean, I learnt to play the blues with Alexis Corner, really, and Brian Jones and Keith. We used to play Jimmy Reed all day on a little machine. Well, it actually had a big radiogram, the old 40, and it was the same as playing jazz to me. It was another drum thing.
Yeah.
I learnt to play by watching people. If you were playing up there, I'd be watching you how to play this, that and the other.
You never took any lessons?
No, much to my regret.
In school?
I learnt later by meeting Jim Keltner and various other people, but I learnt by watching Joe Morello.
Right, and Phil
Was a young-
Seaman and guys like that, right?
Yeah, I used to go, and that was the thing. So, I mean, it's not a very correct way to learn, I suppose, but it's how I learned. You know, I learned by listening to them do it.
Yeah. And listening to records, of course.
Oh, yeah, because we never, in England, we didn't really have American players come to England. I mean, they did in the 30s, and then it was banned until Big Bill Broonzy, I think, in 54.
Really?
And then the next one was Lionel Hampton, where everyone accused of playing rock and roll, actually, because he's playing that real swing and how great he was.
Yeah.
With the band. And he came over as an artist. He didn't bring a band over. And then Ellington, who'd been in the 30s,
Yep.
Louis had been,
Yeah.
they came back in the 60s.
Why the drought from the 30s to the 60s?
Because the union said that an English trumpet player, that gig, it was a very weird thing. It was very
You could
odd.
have Duke Ellington,
yes.
but would take
Yes.
local
Or
guy.
the
No
Duke
offense to the
Ellington
local guy,
orchestra.
but
Yeah, no. No, it was silly.
wow.
And we missed out on people like Charlie Parker, who went to Paris, flew over England to get to Stockholm, came back. Stan Getz was the same, but he came back. He could come back later. You know, a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Don Byers was another one. Paris and Holland wasn't allowed in England, but he did come later. Ronnie Scott's club was the first one to. They used to go down there off hours, and no one was allowed to know. But officially booked, Ronnie's, I think, Pete King, who ran the club with Ronnie at the old club, was the first one. I think the first guy he got was Zoot Sims. Officially booked,
Right.
signed.
Right. That you could tell people about.
Yes, you could. Yes, exactly.
Right. So how did you go from jazz, being a jazz player and playing in these jazz groups? Was it the time or what?
Trapped by the force of my man. Where is I? Alright. Now, that is the dance. Who's up? Alright. Jack Flash, gas. Hey you. How you doing, okay?